Welcome back. So last lesson we set this up. Now we have our actual web app in the cloud. We just need to deploy our code to that web app. Now, before we do it, I want to do one thing. In my code right now, we are only handling database for our development environment. Let's actually extend that so we also in production can actually start having, let's put some data up there at least. So what I'll do here is I'll do an else statement and I'll say if we go to production, I'll just create a new seeder right here where I'll call seed production. So we want to seed our production code, and let's just create this one, create the method, go to seed production. Now what do we want to do? Well, as a minimum, what I want to do is I want to call the context database and make sure there's even a database available. So I'll call ensure created right here. By the way, while we're in here, let's just get this code right here sent to the backend. So I'll go into the terminal, I'll do a git add all, git commit am so that I have the newest code in the cloud. Git push right here as the final thing. So now on Legos for Life under the get all branch, I just pushed this code right here, and we're going to use the get all branch in our production environment. Good. So now we have a way for us to at least create the database in the cloud. Again, we could do this with migration. That will be another talk. Good. So how do we now get the code into Legos for Life on Azure? We have to go to the deployment center down here in the list over here of items. I'll go to the deployment center, and this is where things get pretty neat. First of all, I have to find the code. You can select different ways to do it. I, of course, will pick GitHub, and that's the choice. The next thing is you have to log in. I'm already signed in, so I don't have to do that. I have to pick an organization. I'll pick ESV, and in there I have all my projects. So let's find Legos for Life, the projects that I want to deploy this time. Legos, see if it can help us. There we have the Angular part, that's the front end, not the one we want deployed. And then we have the back end part, which is the .NET Core, right? That's the one we want to deploy. And we have to pick a branch, and I'll pick the get all branch. We could pick the main branch and do merging, but I don't think that's a topic for right now. So I'll just pick the get all branch where all the newest code I created is available. Sweet. With this in place, what we can do is we can save. Now notice there's something here called a template workflow file. I'll talk about that in a second, but let's just save right here to get started with the actual deployment. And this is where things starting to get really, really amazing inside this setup right here. Let's actually see what happens. If we go into logs right here, what happened behind the scenes is it created a few things for us. It actually created a small logger right here. So if I click this, you'll go to your GitHub account. You'll see a workflow under actions. So these are what's called GitHub Actions. And what GitHub Actions is actually using a small file called YML right here. It actually knows a workflow now. So it knows it needs to build our code. So it's going to build the code just like you normally see inside the code in here when you want to run it. So it builds the code for you, pretty much doing the same command like if you did this, build solution. It builds the code, and when the code is built, it's going to deploy the code to Azure for us. So that's what actions can do for you. And later on we can add two actions. We can start just running all our unit tests, deciding if we want to do integration tests, and then if everything runs, automatically do the deployment. So this is what we call continuous integration, continuous deployment, and this will take a bit of time, so maybe a couple of minutes. So notice the status just changed right here. Now it's actually done building, and now it's trying to deploy. So the deployment also needs to get done, and then we can see our page. So the deployment is also done now, and let's actually go and click the deploy right here, and you can see all the jobs that has been completed. Now the cool thing is we can now go to our web page and actually see if things are running. So let's go to the overview page again, and let's see if we actually have a running system now. Let's click Legos for Life. Again, remember, in order to get to the actual API, you have to go to API and /products in our case, or products, sorry. And here let's try and see what happens. You get back an empty array, and that means your system is running. Because we didn't put any data in here yet, because we can't right now. We don't have a post request in any way to add data. So for now, this is perfectly fine. We have a running system in production with no products, but it's running. So that's it for this lesson. Now you know a little bit about the deployment process and how you could actually do it from GitHub. And again, this is just one of many solutions. I want to show you with the get all, because you actually got something new in your system. You got something called .github.workflows. Right here, and under that one, you got the YML file, and this file can be changed again later in order to do different deployment strategies. But let's just keep this as it is, because this was built for Azure, so we just got it for free. One thing I want to mention before you continue, in order to avoid getting different issues later with merge conflicts, just do a git pull when you're done deploying the first time, and then you'll automatically get that workflows in here in your code, so you don't have to later on get merge conflicts for that. That's it for this lesson. Now you have a deployed backend in Azure, and later we'll make changes and redeploy, so you'll go and see that as well. So see you next time. Bye.